right, hey folks, so continue with me on this series of how to get in shape for the start of the year 2024. Make 2024 a great year. So over the course of the last couple of weeks, I've released videos talking about mindset, how to stick to your goals, also discussing diet, how to set up a diet, what my personal preferences are, the pitfalls of how people go wrong with diets. Just trying to give you guys a lot of help because to start the year, a lot of you folks are going to want to do that January push. And why not? Perhaps you've put on a bit of excess timber over the course of the holiday period, and now's the time to really get yourself in check. So I want to carry this on and just help you guys out. All of this information I'm giving you for free. So like, subscribe, that's awesome. A premium coaching service as well. If you're interested in that, let me help you practically, hands-on, week to week, get you in shape or whatever your goal is. There's an inquiry link in the description. So today's topic, as we continue this series of getting you guys in shape and how to do it properly. And again, not listening to just bullshit influencers who don't know what they're talking about, who are not in shape. Listen to people who've actually been in shape, done competitions, have been fat, have been lean, and know how to get this done. All right. So today we're going to talk about cardio. First of all, why do we do cardio? Lots of good reasons. I think the main reason within this context is the obvious one. That is, we expend calories. Now, I will say there aren't that many calories you're going to expend doing cardio. So very often the argument is we shouldn't bother because it's easier not to eat. I think that's the wrong attitude, because as we saw in the previous video, one of the biggest mistakes is just becoming very sedentary, becoming very slug-like. The more that you are into the diet, the more weight you've lost, the higher the calorie deficit, the lazier you're going to want to be. Now, you have to combat against that. It stops you from being too lazy, essentially, during a cut. And there are lots of other good reasons as well. I think another big thing is it actually makes your lifting better. You've got to be in pretty decent cardiovascular condition to actually train hard. This is something that I see a lot with guys who just start with me. Some guys who've been following, let's say, more looser eating methods, they come to me and they find it very difficult to actually push sets all the way. So if I get them to go all out on a set of 10 to 15, for example, they struggle because they don't have the cardiovascular conditioning to do a full set. You've got to have a good engine to be able to really output when it comes to the gym, particularly for bodybuilding. If you're doing a bunch of other stuff like powerlifting perhaps, or whatever other bull crap there is in the middle, you guys know what I'm talking about. There are no standards. So be fat, be mediocre, that's fine. But what I'm talking about here is lifting and looking like you lift, right? So cardio is good for energy burn, stops you from being lazy, also improves your engine, which enables you to go harder in the gym, but also just gives you more energy. So there are plenty of reasons to do cardio, plenty of good reasons which directly affect us. And if you're not interested in any of that, you're going to live longer, okay? You're going to be healthier, you're going to live longer. So that's why. Now, when it comes to when to do cardio, and again, all of this is just my opinion, my recommendations. The first rule of thumb for cardio is just get it done, all right? That's the first rule. Just get it done. I'd rather you just get it done, okay? I prefer my cardio in the morning before work. That's what I do. I'm up at 5:30 most mornings. That's what happens when you get older. You just randomly wake up. You young bucks will have that to look forward to when you're older. But so I'm up at 5:30, and then I'm usually in the gym by about 6. I'm back in the house by 7 to start work. So for me, it's pretty simple. The only painful experience when it comes to doing cardio is just getting out of the house. But I wake up, the wife brings me a cup of coffee, and basically I get going. Once you're out, you're okay. It's harder in the winter months. Just you make an agreement with yourself and you get it done. So I prefer mornings before work so that in the evenings after work, I can do my lifting. Okay. So that's how I prefer it. But the reality is just do it whenever you can get it in. It's better to do it than it is not. Now, at this point, I'll just address, some people say it's a negative to do your cardio after lifting. I don't buy that. I don't buy that. If you can only afford the time to go to the gym once per day, do your lifting, do your cardio afterwards, do that. Okay, we can discuss options later when it comes to what type of cardio in terms of what you might prefer. But yeah, in general, if you can go once a day, cool, just do that. Okay, go to the gym, do your cardio straight after if that's what you prefer. But I prefer cardio in the mornings, usually fasted, and then in evenings when I'm a bit more fed, I'll go and hit the gym. So that is when to do cardio. Now, in terms of how often, I'm personally about building habits. Okay, so I can say, in fact, you guys who have followed the channel for at least a few months will know that I started a daily cardio kick probably about 5 months now. I've been putting it in my community tab, and I did a few videos on cardio a good few months back now. Yeah, 5 months ago. But yeah, I've been keeping it up. I've been doing daily cardio for 5 months. It's great. I really enjoy it. Yeah, it's weird to think that actually, but I really enjoy it. Daily cardio for the past 5 months. I really enjoy it. It's the very first thing that I do in the morning. As soon as I get up, have a coffee, and I'm out the door. I do my cardio, come back, start work. It's great. Quick half an hour for me, and I'm good. So in terms of how often to do it, me personally, I like it every day. Okay, giggity. Haven't done that for a while. But I think if you're just starting off, there's two ways of going about it. If you're just starting off, you can either do it a little more moderately to begin with, maybe target 3 or 4 days, okay, if that's what you want. Start where you can and then build up to what's reasonable for you. But in terms of frequency and just making the time for things, I will say people have a lot more time than they think for the most part. There's a lot of time spent just sat on your phone, not doing much, lazing around in bed. I think if you really look for it, you can find time. If you're very honest with yourself, very often people just waste a lot of time on activities. But in any case, do what you can manage. I prefer daily. Now, in terms of duration, my magical number is 30 minutes. I think that's fine. I think anywhere between 30 to 45 is sustainable, particularly if you're doing it every day. For me, 30 minutes every day is great. I've tried 45. It's a bit too much, just for me personally. Some of you guys might be cardio monsters. You might be way better than me. Great, do it. My brother, for example, he does about 45 to 55 most mornings. Whereas me, I do 30 every single morning. So it depends on how often you're going, what you're comfortable with doing, how much effort you want to expend when you're there. For me, again, it's habits, it's sustainability. I can go in half an hour, I'm back in the house. It represents for me a length of time which is not demanding on my schedule or psychologically. As in right now, I actually quite like going in to do cardio in the mornings. It's a pleasure. I would never think, I wouldn't have thought back in the day that I would ever say, for me, cardio in the morning is a pleasure, but it is. It's genuinely a nice part of my day because it gives me a bit of a boost of energy. So that's what I prefer. So in terms of duration, 30 to 45 minutes, I think, is the golden zone, but base it off what you can manage and build up to that amount if you're not quite there yet. Okay. Now, in terms of what type of cardio, so we are all lifters. Okay, we lift. So conditioning is not our number one gig. And assuming you are doing this conditioning work multiple times per week for half an hour, I prefer steady state cardio. Okay, I don't really like the higher intensity approaches. Steady state for me is the good way to go. Now, I have tried other things. So let me just share with you my experience. I've tried more high intensity type of cardios. Inevitably for me, they lead to two things. One, recovery problems, particularly with the legs. The legs take on a big load when you're doing cardio, whether it's elliptical trainer, running. If you've got any kind of size, and let's say you're a bit on the older side, and you're not used to doing a lot of cardio, which describes me, then it's going to be very tricky to do a lot of high intensity cardio. If you're just starting off, learn from my experience. Start with the duration. Get that half an hour in and just go with steady state. I personally think that's the best way to go. Now, you might really hit. That's fine. Feel free to do it. I won't argue with you. And I would also say, just going back to when to do cardio, if you're doing cardio after your training session and you are a bit touched for time, here's a suggestion. Okay. With some of my guys who are very busy and they want to fit the cardio in straight after a training session, I'll get them to do a particular style of interval training. With those clients, I'll get them to do some interval training. It'll normally be about 8 to 12 minutes of 1 minute hard, 1 minute easy. I understand it's not strictly HIIT because you should rest longer, but it's fine. It's just intervals. It just keeps the heart rate up a little bit higher, and it means that they don't need to do the cardio for quite as long, but they get the heart rate up. So they're getting the cardiovascular benefits because that's what we're after. Yes, we're after some calorie burn, but we're also after the effect on the cardiovascular system and making sure you're not getting lazy as you diet. Okay. I would also say, by the way, you need to carry on doing your cardio on a bulk. That should probably be a separate section altogether, but today we're just focused on cardio for fat loss. So I personally prioritize steady state, but there is a room for high intensity stuff if it fits your schedule. just be very aware it is going to compromise recovery when it comes to your lower body if you're really pushing the volume and intensity in the lower body. So my preference, because I'm primarily bodybuilder slash retired powerlifter and strongman, my primary goal is looking and feeling and being yoked 24/7. So as a result, cardio for me is steady state, low intensity slash medium intensity. Now, on that note, I have done videos on this before, but let's just recap what it comes to. Let's just recap when it comes to heart rate. Okay. Now, a nice, easy way of working that out is take 220, the number 220, subtract your age. So for me, I'm 42 years old. So that is 220 minus 42, which is 178. And 178 is like your maximum heart rate. Okay. You want to take about 70% of that. So for me, that is 178. 70% is about 125. So that's a pretty good zone for me to get a good, decent amount of steady state cardio, the type of work that I'm looking for. And I'm normally 124 to about 145, 125 to 145. So I'm a little bit higher, but that's because I've been doing cardio now for 5 months every day. So my cardiovascular fitness is better. It's a good place to start. If you feel it's too easy, then increase it a little bit. But again, it's got to be sustainable. I'd rather you focus on duration and frequency rather than going super hard and burning out and then never doing it again. So start slow, build it up. Okay, so yeah, aim for about that 70% of calculated maximum heart rate. It's a good place to start, and then over time you'll get better and you can go a bit higher if you want to. So that is the target heart rate. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is one thing I did mention regarding when to do cardio was I said I do it in the morning and I said I do it fasted. Now, I have no issue with that, but I just want to explain my perspective. I personally really like doing the cardio in the morning fasted. I think it's a great way to start my day. Like I really enjoy it now. Like I genuinely enjoy it. I never thought I'd say that, but I genuinely enjoy it. I find that it gives me a shot of energy. It gets me going. It's great. Even just the act of getting out of the house in the winter on a very cold morning, it acts as a form of hormesis. I wake up in the morning, apply a bit of stress, and I'm feeling good. I go in, I do my cardio, I feel nice and awake. I get into a bit of a sweat, I have a shower, I feel ready to start the day. And I do all that before my day's even really begun. So I'm at the desk, nice and fresh cup of tea to go, and I'm good. So yeah, there's no science behind doing the cardio first thing in the morning fasted. But for me personally, it sets me up for a really good day. That's how I like to do it. But again, like I said in the when to do cardio section, it's important just to get it done. Okay, but that's my perspective on morning fasted cardio. I personally prefer it. And I think in terms of how you view the cardio, I think you have to make a deal with yourself when it comes to doing your cardio, whether it's in the morning, just fresh out of bed, all warm and not wanting to go out in the cold, or whether it's at the end of your training session when you're tired and you just want to go home. You have to make it non-negotiable. For you OGs, you might get that reference. Yeah, anyway. So yeah, mentally, you've just got to make it non-negotiable. You've got to have it on your routine. For a lot of us, training is non-negotiable. I would say, if I'm just speaking from my own experience, early on in life, my training was non-negotiable. My diet was very negotiable. My cardio was non-existent. As a result, early on in my 20s, I carried too much body fat. So you've got to try and prioritize these things to achieve the look. And one thing I'll just say to finish, if you think it's not worth doing your cardio and you're just going to eat less, I think you're going about it the wrong way. A lot of you, from my conversations with you, either via coaching inquiries or in the comments, a lot of you want the real estate without putting down the deposit. You think you've got a new way of doing things like, okay, I'm going to get shredded with no cardio. When bodybuilders have been doing cardio, fasted cardio, and multiple meals per day, lots of high protein for decades, you feel like you're the one that's going to come along with doing almost zero cardio, eating low protein, and starving yourself from the beginning. And what happens is you fail over and over again. These are people I've spoken to, but also these are people on YouTube who I see still doing the same 2,000 calorie diet, still failing, still insisting they're going to sit on the desk all day and just starve the weight off, still getting it wrong, and even teaching other people how to do that. A lot of you, and I'll say it again, you want the real estate without putting down the deposit. This is how it's done. This is how it's done for the majority of people who don't have the genetic advantages. I know guys who don't do cardio, but I know a hell of a lot more of guys who do. The vast majority do. The vast majority eat high protein. The vast majority eat multiple meals per day. The vast majority don't save all their calories until midnight or before bed. These are all dumb YouTube fads. So put in the work, stop looking for shortcuts. And if you want some help in sorting out all the bullshit from a guy who's actually competed in multiple sports, powerlifting, bodybuilding, and strongman, and has been fat and has been shredded, that's me, then there is a link in the description. Let me show you how to do things. I'm primarily a coach, not primarily a YouTuber. So get with somebody who actually knows, get on the team, and let's get you sorted out. Folks, I am going to carry on with these videos, trying to help you guys out at the start of the year, and I hope you found that useful. Start on your cardio. I started 5 months ago, daily cardio. I feel way better. It's amazing. Let's go.